Welcome to Concept with Justin. Picture the porch as a stage for containers, a framed outdoor room whose boundaries are set by railings, steps, and the house facade. Visualize establishing a vertical spine to give the composition height and focus. 1 or 2 tall pots with pleached standards, a small potted tree like an olive or columnar hornbeam, or a trained espalier against the wall. These taller elements lift the eye and create a canopy effect, softening overhead light and giving a sense of enclosure without closing the porch off. Around that spine, imagine a mid-layer of medium pots with shrubs and structural perennials, and at the base a carpet of low pots and troughs filled with trailing plants and ground cover that cascade over edges. See how the repetition of scale, tall, medium, low, organizes the composition into a readable, layered garden even in a compact footprint. The immediate benefit is spatial definition. Verticals provide privacy and scale, mid-layer planting creates depth and structure, and low pots soften thresholds and invite barefoot moments. Now imagine the arrangement of pots as an intentional choreography, not an accidental scatter. Visualize large anchor pots placed at corners and beside the door to frame arrival, medium pots grouped in odd numbers to form drifts of like plants, and narrow railing boxes aligned to create a green balustrade that blurs the edge between porch and yard. Picture moving a pair of matching pots to either side of the steps to create a formal threshold, and clustering a trio of mismatched but color-coordinated containers by a bench to create a casual seating nook. The benefit is compositional clarity. Deliberate placement gives the porch coherence and makes the garden feel deliberately designed rather than cluttered. Consider the choice of container materials as part of the aesthetic and the thermal logic. Picture a mix of glazed ceramics for seasonal color near eye level, corten steel planters that develop warm patina along the floor, and lighter terracotta for herbs and Mediterranean plants. Imagine woven synthetic baskets for a softer touch and lightweight fiberglass pots for tall, wind-prone specimens. Visualize the way these materials age. Terracotta gets chalky, corten gains rusted warmth, and glaze keeps saturated color. The benefit is tactile variety and durability. Choosing complementary containers unifies the palette and ensures pots perform in sun, wind, and rain without undue maintenance. turn your attention to the plant palette and the power of repetition. Envision picking 2 or 3 signature plant types and repeating them across pots for rhythm and scale, perhaps a compact evergreen like dwarf ilex or box for year-round structure, a scented shrub or herb such as rosemary, lavender, or dwarf bay for fragrance and culinary use, and an airy grass like stipa or pennisetum for movement and texture. Picture these repeated in groups. A pair of rosemary at the door, 3 boxes flanking a bench, a line of grasses in narrow troughs. Add seasonal accent pots for color, geraniums, salvias, or cosmos, and a few sculptural specimens such as an agave or echium in a sunny corner. The benefit is visual harmony and low cognitive load. Repetition creates a calm rhythm the eye understands, while accents offer surprise without fracturing the composition. Weave scent and tactility intentionally into the design so the porch becomes a full sensory oasis. Imagine edging the path to the door with low portable troughs of fragrant thyme or lemon balm so every footfall releases a fresh herb note. Picture rosemary and lavender by seeding areas to perfume afternoon tea and attract bees in summer. See soft, fuzzy lamb's ear or silver artemisia at hand height to invite touching, and glossy bay or olive leaves that flash in sunlight. Think of night-scented plants, nicotiana or evening-scented stock in small pots near the bench, so dusk brings a gentle olfactory hug. The benefit is emotional depth. Scent and touch make the porch memorable and habit-forming, turning simple acts like clipping herbs or pausing at the door into mini rituals. Now place seating and pause points where they matter most. Picture a narrow bench nestled between 2 clusters of pots, the bench back hugged by tall containers that create a private niche. Imagine a small bistro table for two tucked into a sun pocket with a tray of herbs on the table, or a single lounge chair with a side table for evening reading. Orient these seats to catch morning sun or late afternoon shade depending on your preference. Visualize small podiums or plant stands used as side tables so the pots themselves become furniture, and a storage bench that doubles as both seat and place to hide tools and cushions. The benefit is everyday usability. Intentional pauses turn the porch into an extension of living space rather than simply a place for plants. Introduce water carefully to add sound and life. Picture a small recirculating fountain in a corner pot, a simple bubbling urn or a shallow basin with a subtle pump that creates gentle white noise to mask distant traffic. Imagine a bird bath on a pedestal within easy reach of plantings so birds can feed and drink, and consider a tray of stones in a shallow pot to provide micro-watering spots for pollinators. If the porch is small, a tabletop fountain will suffice. If you have a generous floor area, a larger urn can become a central focal point. The benefit is atmosphere and ecology. Moving water cools slightly, calms the ear, and attracts birds and beneficial insects that animate the oasis. Layer lighting to make the porch inviting at dusk and early morning. Envision soft string lights woven through taller pots and railing boxes to create a canopy of starlight, small uplights to silhouette the trunks of potted standards, and battery-powered lanterns for the table. Use warm LED bulbs to avoid harsh blue light that is unpleasant and bad for wildlife. Consider solar stake lights for railing planters to reduce wiring complexity, and include a small, adjustable task lamp near the potting shelf for evening propagation. The benefit is extended usability and mood. Gentle, layered lighting lets you inhabit the porch after dark without harsh glare, and creates a private, inviting glow. Make resilience and practical maintenance central to your decisions. Start by mapping microclimates. Note which corners get morning sun, which face intense afternoon heat, where wind funnels along the porch, and which areas retain moisture. Group plants by their needs. Sun-loving Mediterranean species in the brightest pots, moisture-loving ferns and hostas in shaded troughs, and wind-tolerant, flexible plants in exposed positions. Use deeper pots for larger specimens to provide root volume and water reserves. And choose saucers or trays with drainage, but also consider subirrigation or self-watering inserts for hard-to-reach spots. If you travel often, program a drip irrigation system with a timer or use capillary matting beneath drip trays to keep moisture more even. The benefit is longevity and reduced stress, matching plant needs to microclimate, and using smart watering reduces replacements and keeps the sanctuary green. link the design elements so they support each other. The taller standards create shade that informs which low pots will thrive. Repeated plants simplify feeding and make pest control easier. Scent plants near seeding encourage lingering. Seeding placement shapes where patterns and where heavier materials are needed. And water features moderate temperature and attract wildlife that help with pollination. Thinking holistically prevents a patchwork of mismatched pots and creates a cohesive, functioning garden room. Think through the seasonal choreography so the porch rewards you across the year. Underplant larger pots with bulbs, crocus, narcissus, and small alliums, to give early spring surprise when the larger shrubs are still waking. Carry through with a mid-season of bloom from Philadelphus or camellias if your climate allows, then let perennial salvias and nepeta hold color in summer. In autumn, celebrate grasses and sedum sea heads that give late fragrance and textural interest, and rely on evergreen structure and interesting bark for winter presents. Rotate tender annuals into glazed containers for instant summer color, and pull them in for winter storage if necessary. The benefit is ongoing delight. A sequence of layers and rotations ensures the porch remains attractive year-round rather than peaking for a single month. Pay attention to biodiversity and habitat value. Include pollinator-friendly plants, echinacea, verbena bonariensis, buddleia in larger pots if space allows, and leave some sea heads standing through winter to feed birds. Provide shallow water sources and small flat stones in trays for insects to rest. Consider a small hotel box mounted on a sheltered wall for solitary bees, and plant a native shrub in a dedicated large pot if feasible to boost local insect populations. Avoid broad-spectrum pesticides. Use manual control, insecticidal soaps, or biological controls where needed. The benefit is a living porch. Wildlife activity animates your space and supports plant health through natural pollination and pest regulation. As the garden matures, practice gradual experimentation. Try one new specimen in a season to test color, texture, or fragrance. Swap a railing box to see how a different trailing plant changes perspective. Or trial a small uplight to see how silhouette affects evening mood. Keep notes on which pots dry out fastest, which plants attract the most pollinators, and which combinations please you most visually. Incremental change preserves the calm while allowing the garden to evolve and surprise. The benefit is ongoing delight and stewardship. Small, thoughtful edits keep the space lively and responsive.